Hello, here we go. Last one of the day. Hopefully everyone's still awake with the pizza, but we're gonna talk about blockchain, data privacy, metaverse, robots, ESG, AI, oh my. So actually, I think all three of y'all have ties to Thailand. So why don't we start with this question, is what advantages do we see in emerging markets like Southeast Asia, Africa, and Latin America?
That's the first disruption, right? As we are talking about this, so perhaps I can say a little bit. I myself am an impact VC, and I have a fund investing in emerging markets entrepreneurs. And what we see, not just in Thailand or Southeast Asia, but throughout the world in developing countries, is that great talents are everywhere. And they know how to build a company. They understand local markets. They might come over here to incubate their companies and try to scale initially, and then they bring the technology back home. And so you're going to see a lot of funds moving forward as investors, active investors, small fund, big funds, trying to democratize, meaning bringing capital to those entrepreneurs who can create impact locally and scale regionally, if not globally. So Southeast Asia is one of them.
Well, me, I'm a bit more different. I think that the future is building things in the country. I truly believe that we need to recreate much more security in controlling the technology and really building something from the ground. The market in Asia and other markets are very interesting in a way that it's very easy to have low price, but it's always complicated to control the technology. So if you really want to create something that has a value, you need to be able to scale it. And the best way is to produce it in the United States. So yes, the offshore platforms bring you so much flexibility to be able to produce very quickly and be able to have access to all the technology of different developments. But you don't have this control on this technology. You have to talk with people that maybe you don't have the same language. So it brings a lot of difficulty in the time when you try to export things. And I'm much more firm believer that we need to recreate home construction and bring technology in the country.
I can tell you about this for 3 days, but I don't want to do that. I was hired by the largest company in Thailand to really bring the US technology to Thailand to transform the business. And when I went there, I found out that the business usage are quite different, people's lifestyles quite different, but and also the workforce was not there. So we started the first steps to train the people. And once we get the people trained, then we start to understand the local business model. We found out you really can create a lot of innovation by bringing the best practice from the US, because I was the CTO of the PMC software. I've been in the tech industry for 20 years before I went to Thailand. So when you go to this emerging market, you immediately think, hey, what kind of technology I can use? And because of the Web3, because of the new internet, right now the cost of the innovation is so low. So that's why the emerging market, that's why you have the impact fund, because you can create the same kind of, I'll see the innovation, probably use 1/20th of the amount of technology, because right now a lot of it is drag and drop. But however, the emerging market really needs experts. We need experts from the strategy level, and also, just like I was hired, and also the people who really know how to bring the technology together, really marry the challenges and the use cases with the how to do things and create the unique solution for that particular country. Well, I want to stop here because we have a lot more other things to talk about it.
Yeah, well, let's actually jump to data privacy. We've seen stuff with like Apple ads, and that's affecting a lot of people, especially like in the e-commerce market. But Guillaume, how might data privacy be changing?
Data privacy will change thanks to decentralization. The whole course of how major company has built their business is ensuring in privacy is life from everyone in exchange of free service. I think that needs to be changed. As I always say, everybody likes their privacy. Nobody wants someone that comes in your home or your house or your business. And today, the only way to do it is to disrupt briefly how many investment has been done in servers and things like that. So we need to take off the whole system down and really bring for each one the control of each data of everyone. Actually.
I used to work for Axiom. Axiom is the largest data company in the U.S. And we helped Facebook with their mobile ads. I was the evil side. Okay. So I went to later on I went to China, went to Thailand. I found out, and also Europe. I found out that people's mindset about data security is very different. For example, in China, that the privacy was not so much of a concern, but the security it is more overpowering the privacy. That's why, like in one of our supermarket, we had the civilian camera connect to the police department, like most wanted criminal database. We actually caught like 2 people on the run within 3 months. And in the U.S., you could think this is an debate about privacy, but in the countries such as China, very different. But the same type of application cannot be used in Thailand because Thailand is more conservative in terms of the data privacy. So we found out that the technology ran into the barrier because of the data privacy issue. And I hope someday we will have our control of the data. At the same time, we also need to find a way how to keep the world secure. And who are the criminals are around you. That are you gonna living to next door to the sex offenders, and because they want to keep the privacy. So this is a balanced act. And I want to stop here. We can talk another hour about that.
Go ahead and get some.
Yeah, but Facebook never did privacy, and it's always the same. The fear of selling a product or things like this. I mean, think rich people has problem with someone that's crazy out at the door. No, it touched the normal customer or the normal client. I think that Facebook hasn't made its money in its technology, it made its money in data. So on Amazon doesn't win money in distribution. So in one moment, we should ask this question, what are we doing? We need to use third-party apps to develop applications, and to a lot of entrepreneurs really shooting their heads like, oh, let's go quick, let's build something with AWS and bring all the data through it. And what happens after is that nobody has control on your technology, all your data are sold. So in one moment, even if we try to create new technology around it, the RSA conference, how many years the RSA conference here in California exists, and we still have the same problem. You go to Washington, D.C., and you have companies that still offer cloud and encryption and so on. And it's so easy to hack something. I mean,
I can see your passion about data. Yeah, we can have that debate afterwards.
Well,
love to have it.
And you mentioned one piece of Web 3.0 with the decentralization, but what about AI? What do we see, maybe Jeep, with how AI will change large industries like the healthcare or e-learning?
Huge. This is huge. In fact, I invested in a portfolio company that, right now, most of them said, AI is kind of like the backbone of the company, no matter what sector they're in, across sector, ed tech, health tech. Personally, right now, I'm also on the board at an AI company in healthcare. So, for example, to give you a specific example, it is, they use an AI 6 file IPs, a software layer to interpret and visualize trillion of cell data instantly in a way that nobody else can. So that it helps in terms of disease diagnosis, it helps in terms of disease classifications. So traditionally, if you do, let's say, cancer diagnosis, there is really, really high error rates, maybe 20, sometimes 25% in emerging markets. So that is really scary. because it means that it can be mistreatment down the road if it is not the right diagnosis, let alone the fact that sometimes it takes more than 2 weeks or 3 weeks to get the results. So this company basically reduced the time significantly, reduce the cost using AI, and make sure by helping the physicians and experts looking into how to interpret the data in the highest accuracy. And this is kind of like tying back into sort of like impact VC or impact entrepreneurship, that I've seen that a lot of companies like this trying to use the technology to solve one of the most critical problems. This, in this case, is healthcare.
Dr. Shu, maybe something on that?
Yeah, I'm on the board of a AI company, a public company that we use AI to really try to change many aspects of the construction safety. You have people smoking, you have geofencing to really see where's higher temperature, whether people wash their hands in the restroom, right? There's so many things you can do, and you walk into to a service, they can tell you're the VIP client or you are the regular client. This has been done, touchless checking, and what you talk about the medical record processing. I would say that AI is going to take over the world, especially take away the job that has patterns that machine can do, and then leave us with more time to do more of an EQ or more of an emotion-related, personalized business. So I would say that if you look at AI, you don't have to reinvent AI. There are so many companies, solutions you can use, but really think about how can you make your service more personalized that the machine cannot take over, right? And then leave all the repetitive work to machine the machine can do a much better job at a much more accurate rate, just like Jeep said. Right?
Let's go to the supply chain. So many problems right now. When do you think that companies are going to have more manufacture in the U.S.? You mentioned some a little bit earlier. Actually, wherever you want to take the supply chain and the future of it.
I believe the United States has an incredible power, which has everything. You can build everything in the US. I don't know, people are so fussed about it to go and produce and build the technology outside. Yes, it's cheaper. Yes, you give more money to your board of directory or your investors, but it doesn't mean that you control your technology. This is where it happens when you have IP problems. Building the technology outside of the supply chain is great, but you are, if you don't build all your intellectual property, you can go to China, Thailand, or any types of country, they will rip it off. So to do that and to really have control on it, you need to really produce. And then there is a problem of supply chain. Now, everybody has produced, Intel, big corporate, they all put their money in the same bag, everything in Asia, please. Some other country does it. And now they're all, this sort of supply chain. Yes, because you haven't done a good thing. You should have produced in your country. You don't put all your bags inside. So me as entrepreneurs and building the company and how to build the technology, we will do everything to reproduce all the chipset components here in the United States. Therefore, we control our supply chain, we control everything.
Jeep or Dr. Shoot, agree or disagree? Or different perspectives?
I would say that, yeah, you can try to produce as many things as you can, right? But the world needs probably more components that you can use. The future of the technology can bring the smart contract to make the supply chain smarter, and in the near future, I already started that machine and people can do business seamlessly. And then at this point, you can have more of intelligence decision. Where are you gonna build your supply chain? Where are you going to build that particular part? You know, as you said, the more control you have, the more independent you are. And however, where is your customer? If you look at the U.S. companies, your customer is the global market, right? Just trying to either build your stuff next to your market and Give you an example. People said we should build the cold chain in Africa. I said, why? Because we want to ship the green vegetable. I said, why do you do that? Why don't you just do the microgreen? You just ship the seed there, and they add water. They can grow their vegetable themselves instead of build very expensive cold chain. So there are, I would say that there are so many things you can consider about how to build a more efficient, smart, and a more cost-effective smart chain to serve your market, serve your global market. That's what I think.
Well, we move on actually with the great resignation and the growing gig economy. How does one keep top talent, or are we going to see more further outsourcing, remote work? Maybe Jeep or everyone take.
Yeah, this is an interesting topic as an economist by training. You know, I also advise startups that take advantage of this. Meaning, if you find the best resource outside the United States, especially outside the Bay Area, if they can do the work, why not? Right? Startup doesn't have a lot of cash. They don't have a lot of resources. This is, to me, is the moment after COVID. It's the moment that I hope that a lot of companies would realize that, you know, geography actually doesn't matter much. Unless, of course, if you argue that you are in manufacturing, you have to go in the factory and work, that's a different case. But the work that can be done over Zoom, the work that can be done remotely, that is, number one, the advantage that the startups can deploy in a lower cost locations. Number two, this is, you know, it's gonna get into the gender a little bit. This is where women thrive. And a lot of the times, women quit their jobs in the past because they don't have flexibility. You know, they have to pick up kids, they want to attend soccer, they want to do a lot of other things that working in a big corporation or startups do not allow them to do. So if there is a choice, and if they could, they would quit their job, right? This is the place where there is a new moment that emerged. A lot of startups actually decided to retain high-level executive women 50% of their time, 75% of their time, or 30% of their time, right, to do a certain function that, you know, they can accomplish and get the startup going. So it's kind of like a win-win for them. Win for the executive, win for the startup, and it's all about flexibilities. So these are the two things that I've seen that companies that can adjust, even though we talk a lot about the great resignation in the past years, it actually provides a lot of value if they know how to capitalize on the opportunities. Right now, I think that we are in a different phase. It's not so much of a great resignation. It's about like how we're gonna survive what appears to be a downturn, which, you know, to me, the same strategy, if they know how to deploy it, where the talents are and what the talents want, those companies would have a longer lifetime.
With this downturn and also the future of technology, what worries you, or what is something that is a disruptor, as this panel is? Maybe Guillaume, go ahead. Or Dr. Xu, anywhere. What is something that actually keeps you up at night? What's the future worry that you have of your companies or companies that you're involved in?
Well, currently I'm running 3 companies, one nonprofit and 2 for-profit. One is the private university. I think the number one thing that I worry about is marketing and sales. Because anytime you really want to grow business, you need to really continue to explore what are the additional value you can bring to your market. How do you reach those people, right? With data privacy, all those considerations, it's much harder to accurately reach out to your client. So now you need to really spend a lot of time on social media, content-based marketing, all those things that you may not want to do, right? So those are the challenges. Another thing is, where do I find the service that not only provide me with the direction and also how to, but also do those things for me, like a marketing. Which company can do the complete marketing for me, then I don't have to worry about marketing. that I can focusing on my produce the product for my customers. So in summary, sales, marketing, and how to reach out to my potential customer is my number one concern at this point.
And what about pressure from ESG? We've heard a lot about this, environmental, social governance.
Yeah.
Some impact decisions made by the business. Is this something that a company should start planning for right away? Where does this fit, and where do we see the future of it? Maybe Jeep start.
Yeah, my venture fund is an impact fund. And what I tell people, there is still a lot of misunderstanding in the ecosystem that impact fund means nonprofit or social impact only. It's not. And this is what I teach at Haas Business School at UC Berkeley. I teach MBA students on impact VC class. So impact VC is about using capital to incentivize social change. And when I run an impact fund, I actually expect the same returns financially from the portfolio company. But at the same time, I also want to see what kind of social or environmental impacts that they can bring on the table using the capital that I invest in. So you asked about the trend we call ESG trend, and there are, we are at the right moment to really put, exercise the capital in the right way, because number one, we talk a lot about the climate, right? United Nations came with social development goals, we call SDGs, and climate is one of them. We have gender, we have a lot of other areas that as a society we have to improve on. And that actually incentivizes the capital owners when they invest in my fund. They are LPs, limited partners. So the investors tell me that, look, I have a lot of ways that I can invest and make money. They're billionaires and whatnot. So can you help using my capital to generate additional returns more than the financial returns? Because otherwise, I can ask my wealth managers to invest financial returns. So what else can the capital bring? So I think that's I wouldn't call it pressure, but I think that the incentive that they see now that money is powerful and they can incentivize the change, that number one. Number two, because of the trends that we have seen, the next generation, the new generation, the millennials and whatnot, they actually truly care about it. My students, MBA students at Berkeley, they wanted to know and learn right now, sustainability topic is number one topic in the school. And they want to know what else they can do in order to bring the capital to create the change in the society. A lot of them went into the impact funds, a lot of them go into work in the big corporations, but they have the mindset of doing something differently. And I think that pressure from the capital owners, true incentive or motivations from the next generations, as well as the global change has shaped us in kind of like shift into the new paradigm of investment and impact entrepreneurship.
Guillaume, you've worked all over the world, you've created a physical product. Has any governmental decisions or future decisions ever something that worries you about? So we have a lot of talk about the government coming in and maybe making some rules about AI and such, although I think they'll be way too far behind. But is there anything that's ever impacted your businesses?
AI is already discussed at the government level, because in intellectual property, you have a real discussion on if a computer invents something, would you give the invention? Do you give it to a person? Do you give it to a computer? Today, we will not give the invention to the computer. We're still very far from that, so it's not like in Matrix. We are on time to do that. So we have time. I think the government is an incredible machine. They have a lot of needs, like all businesses. People are usually afraid about the government, but you just need to go. You can go to the CIA, knock on the door and say, oh, hello, this is my product. And you will find someone that will maybe introduce you. So the government strategically gives you the help first, to comfort your business, because sometimes with the government, you have someone to defend yourself with your business. So they are constantly in need. Government is really pointless. You need to create a product for the government that is like a Swiss knife. They want measurement. They want like a tailor. They don't want just a normal product. So in this particular aspect, I think the government has so much things to do, and it's an incredible market. The government wants new technology, be ahead of other countries, like France do it, like any types of country. So yes, that's what I think.
We're actually pretty much out of time, and I think we're a little bit over time a little bit. So let's go ahead and end with key takeaways as well as how to contact you.
And I can start. Okay, for the contact me, you can go to LinkedIn. To connect with me, Elizabeth Xu, last name XU, or go to our website at a2cacademy.org. But I think LinkedIn would be the best, right? And the final word is, from many years my career since 2005, and then through I made into the C-suite within 10 years of my graduation, and then made into the boardroom in 10 years. I would say that what I learned was surrounding yourself with a real expert. Two levels of expert. One is the directional, strategic expert. Another one is the people who know how to do things like Adam, right? We chatted briefly. The people who can take strategy, put it into the implementation. That you don't have to worry about it. You just leave your time to run your business, especially in technology. If you're not techie, leave it to the real expert. That's what I do. I hire coaches, I hire mentors, because I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to just try all sorts of things without knowing the back doors, without knowing the hidden rules, without knowing the real games. So hire the expert, know the real game, shoot to the right direction, and hire the expert, do the right implementation. And your company will take advantage of this digital transformation.
Okay, so for me, I'm going to jump out with it. It was great. Me, I'm much more, if you don't know something, learn it. If you are CEO and entrepreneurs, you need to build your proper strategy. Experts are very nice, but then in French there's an expression, the experts are not the payers. So finally, at the end of the line, when they have to ask you something, it's you as an entrepreneur who need to discuss with your investors and your team why you didn't take this decision. So the more you have people around you, a CMO, a CTO, engineering, that's why I always say, don't do work outside. You have to have your people around you. If you need marketing, you have your CMO. You sit down with her and say, oh, how is it? How we can do it? Okay, I see it. Those are the way you can really select your team and really go to the strategical place. Then you want consulting. You ask a consultant, you need him talk, and at the end you say, that's cool, see you. And you go and see your team and say, this is what I've seen. So this is for me the best way how you can drive a company. Employees are very important. As I always say, they are the Praetorian Guard. I always use this term because it's really the people that defend the CEO. They are the people that will rely on developing the technology, on going to the market, on selling. So this is the best way for me, how to construct a very solid company. When you will see an investor, when you go and see someone, you will say, hey, this is my team. Oh, that's nice. They are pretty good. Yes, they are. And that's how you add value to it. This is how you're going to break market, and this is how you be a value and unique person and unique company inside the market. So if you want to reach me, it's in LinkedIn. My name is Guillaume Jaulerry. And if you are there, if you want to talk about a lot of stuff, I've done pretty a lot of things. I've seen pretty a lot of stuff in my life. So that's, I'm open for everything. Thank you.
I would like to say, the same thing that I always told my students. Technology is a long game. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Sometimes it feels like it's a sprint because you don't have resources, you don't have time. But what I've noticed that people who have been very successful, they get to move around. One day they were an entrepreneur, they get to exit the company, which is this conference is all about, and then they become a VC. Some VCs, they're very successful in being a VC, they see the market opportunity, they jump and they become a founder. So this is a very fluid industry and the world is really connected. And I really believe that, we have to really look at the world at a broader level, that this is going to be a marathon for everyone, so enjoy it. So connect with me on LinkedIn.
I love it. And just remember, this panel number 4 has the best shoes in the game. I appreciate it. Close it down here.
I want to thank everybody for coming today. I want to thank our panel once again. All our panels did an amazing job.
Thank you, Daran.
Give yourselves a round of applause.